Good afternoon, you guys. My name is Tanner Peterson, and I will be presenting on Vertigo, which was released in 1958. So to start out, the movie Vertigo was filmed and made by Alfred Hitchcock. And I mean, you guys definitely know who he is. He's been mentioned numerous times in class because he has really released and produced some very impressive films. And Vertigo is definitely in the top, probably top two or three easily of one of his films that he's produced and directed. And I mean, if you watch the movie, you'll totally understand why, but I'll give you kind of a brief overview of everything about the movie and everything that you would definitely want to know. But yeah, Alfred Hitchcock produced Vertigo, and he did a phenomenal job. So one of the main stars, the person that really shines in this movie is James Stewart. James Stewart plays the role of Scotty, who is an ex-detective who has this fear of heights, which comes from the feeling of vertigo, which if you guys don't know what that feeling is, basically it's this almost like gut wrenching, this like squeezing of your stomach when you are at high heights. And it's just this really very uneasy feeling that you get with it. But basically, the movie kind of follows Scotty and his adventure following Madeline. And I'll kind of explain a little bit more. But James Stewart, he's known for some of his roles. For instance, he led a role in It's a Wonderful Life and the Cheyenne Social Club. But yeah, he is the star of the movie. He is just he's just phenomenal in this movie. He does a great job really portraying the character of Scotty. The next person that has a very significant role in this movie is Kim Novak. And Kim Novak actually plays two roles within this movie. She plays the beautiful and amazing Madeline, who is the wife to Gavin, who he actually, I'll kind of explain a little bit more about that later. But she plays this amazing Madeline character who kind of just has some mental problems and just is not totally there. But she also plays the other character, Judy, who you'll kind of see who Judy is later on. But Kim Novak, along with James Stewart, they both are really great together, and they really help this storyline develop within this movie. But Kim Novak, she's played in a couple other movies. She's been in other movies, for instance, Pal Joey and Bell, Book, and Candle. And actually, she was in Bell, Book, and Candle with James Stewart alongside James Stewart too. So you can kind of definitely see a little bit of chemistry in this movie between those two characters. But Vertigo, I'll give you guys a nice overview of what Vertigo what Vertigo is and goes on throughout this movie. So basically, you kind of start out with a police chase type of thing, and you can kind of see in this top left photo of Scotty hanging off the side of this building, and this is where you're introduced with Scotty and his character. And really what he is, he's this police detective who has vertigo. And alongside of a couple other like physical problems, which actually Alfred Hitchcock is known for portraying the male character as someone who either has like physical problems or like mental problems, or some not a picture perfect picturesque person. So Scotty is portrayed by James Stewart. And you see in this opening scene his feeling of vertigo. And actually, I'll kind of explain a little bit later in this presentation. how Alfred Hitchcock really portrays the feeling of vertigo through the camera lens. But basically, what happens is Scotty has this feeling of vertigo, and he ends up leaving the police force because he just can't do it anymore. He witnesses someone falling off a roof when he's hanging there because they're trying to help him up, and they end up falling off, and he resigns from there. Anyways, after that happens, he gets this call from a friend. His name is Gavin, an old college colleague. He's like, "Hey, my wife is just she's just not there. She's very distant when we are talking, and she just kind of escapes off into this really just different world." And that's when we're introduced to Kim Novak and her character as Madeline. Um, and so basically, what Gavin ends up asking is, "Hey, Scotty, can you go and just check up on her, see what she's doing throughout the day?" Gavin's at work; he can't check up on her, so he's like, "Hey, Scotty, can you please just check up and just kind of follow her and see what happens?" Well, Scotty's like, "Yeah, of course, I'll do that." So he ends up following around Kim Novak, following around Madeline, and realizes she's really acting very weird. She always goes and gets the same bouquet of flowers. She sits at this art studio, just staring at this painting of an old lady, and then she'll visit the cemetery and stare at a grave. And it turns out she basically is developing almost like a second personality where she is basically acting as like her great grandmother who ended up committing suicide because she was very lonely and just very sad. So she develops this like secondary personality, and Scotty ends up seeing that and is like, "Hey, Gavin, like I'm kind of giving you a heads up, like this is what's happening. Uh, Madeline is just not right." But throughout this whole him following her, he starts to talk to her and like gets to know her and ends up falling in love with her, with Madeline. And so he's really looking out for her best interests and trying to, figure all that out. So they can get this connection kind of right off the bat, especially after he ends up saving her from committing suicide and trying to jump into the harbor, basically. So he gets this bond, this connection with Madeline, and he ends up really kind of making sure that she's okay. Well, then kind of going on to this third picture on the top right, um, it gets to the middle of the movie, and he ends up is like hanging out with her and like making sure that she's okay, and then they end up going to basically this church, and he's sitting there talking to her. She's like, "You know what? I have to go. I'll be back in a little bit." And she goes up to this steeple right up at the top and ends up jumping out of it and committing suicide. Well, this puts Scotty into this horrible like spin. He just isn't himself. And so he ends up going into basically a mental hospital to kind of recover about this traumatic experience because he really loved her. But he ends up having this dream and it kicks him out of it. And then he goes into basically the real world searching for he basically goes on the hunt for Madeline. He just misses her and he loves her, and he goes on this hunt for her. Well, he ends up walking down the street and seeing across the street this lady that looks like Madeline. And so he follows her to her building in a kind of a creepy way, but it's not supposed to be creepy. It's supposed to be more endearing. Um, and he knocks on her door and is like, "Hey, I want to talk to you and get to know you." So she's very hesitant at first. She's like, I just don't think so. I don't really want to. Um, but then she ends up saying yes. And this is where Judy actually comes into the picture. That's who is in the very bottom left. And Judy is he's just enamored with Judy. He really, really likes her, but he just can't get Madeline out of the back of his head. And so he ends up going and taking her to the store to buy her this suit that Madeline was actually known for wearing. That the suit that she ends up dying when she jumps out of the steeple is the same suit that you actually see her Judy wearing in this bottom middle picture. And so Scotty ends up really falling in love with her, but also trying to dress her up like Madeline and making it so that she reminds him completely of Madeline. And this is just it's just kind of a crazy moment in the movie where I'm like, man, this guy's kind of a little wonky, but also like you just kind of feel for him because he's grieving about Madeline, but also he just really likes Judy. And so it gets to the point where she dyes her hair, she dresses just like him, has the same exact heels as wore, um, and then she ends up putting on this ruby red necklace, which is this red necklace is the same necklace that was shown in the painting that Madeline would go and sit in front of for hours and hours on end. Um, and so when Scotty sees this, he ends up being like, "Oh, you know what? This actually looks like this person is Madeline. Like it's literally Madeline." And so he is just not very happy about it. So he ends up taking her without telling Judy. He ends up taking her back up to this church, this steeple, and he basically confronts her about it. And turns out Judy was just playing the role of Madeline, who is Gavin's wife, for money, and Gavin ended up murdering his wife. And so she was just trying to cover it up. And she played the role of Madeline to cover it up. And she ended up not actually dying herself. But Madeline, the actual, wife of Gavin, ended up dying because he murdered her. And you just see this hurt on Scotty's face, but also you kind of get this feeling of fear for Judy because Scotty is he's just so angry and he confronts her and he's just angry and mad with her, but they're at the top of the steeple. And so when he confronts her about it, she's like, okay, yes, that happened. But she ends up actually falling off the side of the steeple and dying, and that's how the movie ends. But Alfred Hitchcock does a phenomenal job of getting this bond between Madeline slash Judy and Scotty, and really, especially after you find out that Judy is actually Madeline, or Madeline was actually Judy. Really, after you find out from that moment, you really kind of get this feeling for Judy that you kind of feel for her. She still loves Scotty because she fell in love when she was playing Madeline with Scotty. And so you just get this feeling of just like you just feel bad for her because they're at the top of the steeple and Scotty's just angry. He's just so mad at her. So yeah, you get this feeling for her, but you also kind of feel bad for Scotty. You understand why he's angry because he fell in love with her, but she was really not the right person, but really she is. It's just kind of this internal warfare in yourself where you're feeling for both sides. And I think that's just a amazing thing that Alfred Hitchcock does with this movie and how he directs it. Um, so yeah, that's kind of the consensus of Vertigo. But Vertigo is iconic and mainly for these two things. What Alfred Hitchcock does is he revolutionized the basically the feeling of vertigo, which is a contra zoom shot. And what he does is he takes a dolly. It's a dolly shot, but you are zooming in to a specific point while also pulling the dolly back. And that is how you get this feeling of vertigo, which I would show you guys this a clip of it, but we've already watched it at the beginning of the semester, and I didn't think that that would be very beneficial to you guys. But another reason why this movie is so iconic is because uh, Hitchcock does this amazing thing where he manipulates this neon green sign outside of Judy's apartment right after she's dressed up as Madeline, and it creates this very ominous feeling in the viewer's eyes and their kind of their gut, because it literally looks like she's just that Madeline's a ghost walking out of the bathroom towards the camera. And it's crazy. I actually have a video for you, to a little clip to watch. So this is kind of this ghost feeling and how he manipulates the neon sign in the background to um, create this, to make it look like Madeline is ghost just being, brought back. So that, I mean, that kind of feeling, you definitely saw her the second she walked into view of the screen. Um, and it looks like she's just this ghost, kind of this, just, I mean, a ghostly like figure. Then she walks into to view. So the way he manipulates the the lighting in the background, just it's phenomenal. It's such a crazy shot, especially for the 50s in this day and age. But I want to also say and give some honorable mentions. The film score, Bernard Herrmann, he was the one that did the film score. He did an amazing job. He uses harps for that vertigo shot that I was kind of talking about earlier. He uses basically these harps to make you just get that dropping sensation in your stomach. And he just does a good job. Also in the video that I just showed a second ago, he uses just this array of instruments to kind of just make you feel like you're there, and it's he does a phenomenal job with this throughout the entire movie. Also, the screenwriters, Alec Koppel and Samuel A. Taylor, they did a wonderful job writing the script. I mean, I found myself throughout the entire movie just being engaged into the movie just over and over. I just didn't want to stop watching the movie. And it's just a really well written movie, and they just did a phenomenal job. Um, so my overall consensus, I mean, I'm sure you guys can, figure it out, but I thought that it was amazing. I mean, my mind was literally blown. Um, I mean, this movie has so many different layers to it. And Alfred Hitchcock just does a phenomenal job directing it, and with his camera work. He does an amazing job. James Stewart as Scotty, and his chemistry with Kim Novak, and Scotty with Judy and Madeline. It's just an overall amazing job. I'm typically not the person to I love to watch just action-packed movies. And this one's not an action-packed movie. Matter of fact, people tend to kind of think that it's a little slower, but every single step of the way, my mind was just wandering and just trying to figure out, hey, what's going to go on? What's going to happen next? And I was just engaged the entire time. And I mean, I was amazed with it. So that was Vertigo. Thank you guys all for watching and listening. Um,